The arena floor was made of something that looked like metal, but felt wrong under Quanday's boots. Everything on this station felt wrong. The gravity was lighter than Earth's. The air tasted recycled and thin. Even the lights seemed too bright and too blue. Day stood in the center of the combat ring, watching his opponent circle him. The creature was called a Volcari, and it looked like someone had crossed a praying mantis with a suit of armor. Its forearms ended in blade-like appendages that gleamed under the arena lights. Its compound eyes tracked Day's every movement. Around them, thousands of aliens filled the viewing stands. Day had never seen so many different species in one place. Some had fur, some had scales, some seemed to be made of crystal or gas or things he couldn't even name. They all watched him with what he assumed was curiosity. Humans were new here. Very new. Are you ready, human? The Volcari's voice came through a translator device. It sounded like rocks grinding together. Ready, Day said. The fight began without ceremony. The Volcari moved fast, faster than Day expected. One of its bladed arms swung at his chest. Day dodged left, but another arm was already there, catching him in the ribs. The impact lifted him off his feet and sent him flying backward through the air. Time seemed to slow down. Day saw the arena ceiling spinning above him. He heard a collective gasp from the crowd. 15 feet, maybe more. He was going to hit hard. The human hit the ground, rolled once, stood up, and looked around. The arena was silent. Completely silent. Day could hear his own breathing, the slight hum of the force field that surrounded the combat area, nothing else. He checked himself quickly. His ribs hurt, but nothing felt broken. He'd had worse in training back on Earth. The Volcari stood frozen, all four arms raised in what might have been surprise. Its translator crackled. You should be injured. That strike was calculated for your body mass and bone density estimates. Day rolled his shoulders. Yeah, well, maybe your calculations were off. In the control booth above the arena, Han Yuna watched the monitors with wide eyes. She had known Day for 5 years, served with him in the Earth military, and vouched for him when the Coalition requested human representatives for these trials. But even she hadn't expected this. Replay that impact, she said to the technician beside her. The technician was a blob-like creature that operated the controls through some kind of telepathy. The screen showed the hit, again in slow motion. The force of the impact, the distance Day flew, the way he hit the ground. By every calculation the Coalition had about human physiology, he should have broken bones. Multiple bones. Your human is unexpected, said a voice behind her. Yuna turned to see a tall crystalline being entering the booth. She recognized High Arbiter Quellen, one of the most powerful individuals in the entire Coalition. Humans are tougher than we look, Yuna said carefully. Clearly. Quellen's voice sounded like wind chimes. Continue watching. This is most interesting. Down in the arena, the fight had resumed. The Volcari was more cautious now, testing Day with quick strikes instead of committed attacks. Day defended, blocked, and waited for his opening. He wasn't here to kill or seriously hurt anyone. The trials were supposed to be about testing capability, not bloodshed. The Volcari lunged forward with all four arms extended. Day dropped low, swept the creature's legs, and as it fell, he caught it and controlled its descent. The Volcari hit the ground gently, pinned but unharmed. Yield? Day asked. Yield, the Volcari said after a moment. The crowd erupted. Not in cheers exactly, but in a cacophony of sounds that Day assumed meant surprise across a dozen different species. He helped the Volcari to its feet. The creature studied him with its compound eyes. You could have hurt me when I fell, it said. Wasn't trying to hurt you, Day replied. Just trying to win. Medical teams rushed onto the arena floor as Day left. They were there for him, he realized, 3 different species of doctors surrounded him with scanning devices and worried expressions. "I'm fine," they protested. "We must scan you," insisted a small furry doctor. "The impact you sustained should have caused severe trauma. It wasn't that bad. It was equivalent to falling from a 3-story building on most civilized worlds." They blinked. "Oh, well, I've jumped from higher during training. With gear, anyway." The doctors looked at each other. One of them made a sound that might have been distress. They scanned him anyway, running their devices over his body while making notes that Day couldn't read in the medical bay later. Tae-woo laughed when Day told him what happened. Woo was the team's medic, a stocky man with quick hands and quicker wit. "They think we're made of glass," Woo said, checking Day's ribs with practiced efficiency. "I've been trying to explain human physiology to the Coalition medical staff for weeks. They don't believe half of it." "What don't they believe?" "Everything. Our bone density, our muscle fiber composition, our healing speed, our pain tolerance. They think Earth gravity is a death sentence." One of them asked me if we all wear powered armor just to walk around. They winced as Woo pressed on a tender spot. "Bruised? Probably. You'll be fine by tomorrow. Maybe the day after." Woo shook his head. "To them, that's miraculous. Most species here would need weeks to recover from what you just took. I didn't ask to be a freak show." "You're not a freak. You're a human. We're just different." Woo packed up his medical kit. "But Day, be careful. Different can be scary to people who don't understand it." That evening, Day sat in his quarters, looking at a data pad. It showed messages from Earth, from his family. His sister had sent a video of their parents' garden. His nephew had drawn a picture of a spaceship. Normal life, happening millions of miles away. Yuna knocked and entered without waiting for an answer. She'd always done that. "You caused quite a stir today," she said, sitting down across from him. "Didn't mean to." "I know, but we need to talk about what this means." Yuna pulled up holographic displays. 17 different Coalition species have filed requests for more information about human durability. 8 have expressed concern. 3 have used the word dangerous in official communications. Dangerous? I helped the Valkyrie up after the fight. That's not how they see it. They see a species that can take hits that would kill them and walk away. They see someone who can fall from heights that would shatter their bones and just stand up. Yuna met his eyes. "They're scared, Day. Of me? Of all of us. Of what we represent." She closed the displays. "Earth is a high-gravity world with dangerous weather, dangerous animals, and dangerous everything. We evolved to survive there. To them, that makes us survivors of a death world. Deathworlders." Day thought about that. He'd never considered Earth particularly dangerous. It was just home. But compared to the carefully controlled environments most Coalition species came from, maybe it was. "So what do we do?" he asked. "We keep doing what we're doing. We compete. We show them we're not monsters, just people. People who happen to be tough." Yuna stood up. "But Day, watch yourself. Not everyone is going to be happy about humans joining the Coalition. And after today, you got a target on your back." After she left, Day looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, home, everything familiar. Here, he was something new and frightening. He thought about the Valkyrie fighter, about the surprise in its voice when he stood up, about the doctors who couldn't believe he wasn't injured, about the word dangerous in official reports. They had enlisted to explore the stars and represent humanity. He hadn't signed up to be feared. But maybe, he thought, that was something he'd have to deal with. Humans were tough. The galaxy was just going to have to get used to it. He pulled up the training schedule for tomorrow. More trials, more tests, more opportunities to show what humans could do. He smiled slightly. If they wanted to see what a Death Worlder could handle, he'd show them, but he'd do it his way. With control. With compassion. With the same values his parents had taught him back in that garden his sister had filmed. The human had hit the ground, rolled once, and stood up. And the galaxy had noticed. Now came the hard part, figuring out what that meant for everyone involved. The Coalition medical facility was unlike any hospital they had ever seen on Earth. Walls that seemed to glow with their own light. Floors that adjusted their texture based on what species walked on them. And doctors from 100 different worlds, all looking at him like he was a puzzle they couldn't solve. Dr. Lia Su stood among them, the only human xenobiologist on the station. She was young for such an important position, barely 30. But she knew more about alien life than anyone else from Earth. Right now, she was arguing with a panel of Coalition scientists who refused to believe her data. These readings must be wrong, insisted a reptilian doctor. No natural creature has this bone density without being unable to move. The readings are correct, Sue said patiently. She'd been patient for 3 hours now. Human bones are dense because we evolved in one standard gravity. Most of your species evolved in 0.6 or 0.7 gravity. Our bones had to be stronger, but the muscular structure is also adapted for one standard gravity. We're not augmented. We're not enhanced. We're just from a heavier world. They watched this argument from a medical bed where more scans were being done. They'd been scanning him all morning. Every time they got results, they assumed the machines were broken and scanned him again. Another human walked into the medical bay. Hey, Nari was tall and lean, built like a runner, because that's exactly what she was. She'd won the endurance trial yesterday, completing a marathon distance that left 6 other species in medical care. They're still poking at you? Nari asked, sitting on the edge of his bed. Yeah, you? Finished an hour ago. They wanted to know how my lungs work. She grinned. Apparently, our oxygen processing is remarkably efficient compared to most species here. Everything about us is apparently remarkable, or terrifying, depending on who you ask. Nari's smile faded. Have you heard the rumors? Which ones? That some Coalition members want us kicked out. They think we're too dangerous to be around civilized species. She used finger quotes around civilized. Before Day could respond, an alarm sounded. Not a medical alarm, a station emergency alarm. The lights flickered and changed to a pulsing red. Doctors and patients alike looked around in confusion. Yuna's voice came through Day's communication device. Day, Nari, get to the human quarters. Now. Something's happening. They ran. The station corridors were filling with security personnel from a dozen species. None of them tried to stop the 2 humans sprinting through the halls. Most of them just stared. The human delegation quarters were in the diplomatic section of the station. When Day and Nari arrived, they found the area cordoned off. Smoke was coming from one of the rooms. Human smoke, the kind that came from explosives. Jin Sung stood outside, covered in dust and supporting Yuna with one arm. Yuna was conscious but looked shaken. Wu was already checking her for injuries. What happened? Day demanded. Mom, Sung said simply. He was a quiet man normally, spoke only when needed. Small one. In the conference room where we were meeting with Coalition officials. Is anyone hurt? The aliens are in bad shape. Medical teams are with them now. Sung looked down at himself, seeming surprised. I got hit by debris. I'm fine though. Yuna too. Wu was shaking his head as he scanned Yuna. Concussion, maybe. Some bruising. You should be in intensive care right now. I'm fine, Yuna insisted, though she was still leaning on Sung. That's the problem, Wu muttered. You're fine when you shouldn't be. Coalition security arrived, led by a being that looked like it was made of liquid metal. We need statements from all humans present during the incident. They gave their statements. The bomb had been hidden in the conference room, designed to go off during the diplomatic meeting. It was meant to kill everyone in the room. But the human delegation had survived with minor injuries while the alien diplomats were critically wounded. "This doesn't make sense," the security chief said, reviewing the data. "The explosive yield should have been fatal to everyone within 3 meters. Humans have redundant organ systems," Sue explained. She'd arrived with the medical teams. "Our internal organs are better protected by muscle and bone than most species. What causes fatal internal bleeding for others might just bruise us." The security chief's liquid metal surface rippled in what might have been confusion or frustration. "You're saying humans survived an assassination attempt by accident?" "By biology," Sue corrected. "And one more thing, Jin-sung, you said you shielded Ambassador Yuna from the blast?" Soong nodded. "Show me your back." Soong turned around. His shirt was shredded, and his back was covered in small cuts and bruises, but nothing serious. Sue looked at the security chief. He used his body as a shield and took the majority of the debris impact. He should have punctured lungs at minimum. Instead, he has superficial wounds that will heal in days. The security chief was silent for a long moment. Then it said something that made Day's blood run cold. "This will not help your position in the coalition." After the security teams left, the human delegation gathered in Yuna's undamaged quarters. There were only 5 of them on the station: Day, Yuna, Nari, Soong, and Wu. 5 humans representing an entire planet. "Someone tried to kill us," Nari said what everyone was thinking. "Not just us," Yuna corrected. She was sitting down now, still recovering from the blast. The coalition officials, too. They wanted to make it look like an attack on the peace talks. "But we survived and they didn't," Day said. "Which makes us look suspicious. Or makes us look more dangerous." Wu was organizing medical supplies, his hands moving by habit. "Think about it. An explosion that should kill everyone in the room, and the only survivors are the Deathworlders." "Don't call us that," Yuna said sharply. "That's what they're calling us." Wu didn't stop working. "I've heard it in the medical bay. Deathworlders. Creatures from a death world." "They're not wrong." "Earth isn't a death world," Nari protested. "To them it is." Soong spoke from where he stood by the window. "One standard gravity crushes some species. Our atmospheric pressure would burst their lungs. Our weather would kill them. Our planet is a death world to most of the galaxy. So, what do? They asked. Yuna stood up slowly. "We figure out who tried to kill us and why. And we prove that being tough doesn't make us monsters." The investigation moved quickly. Coalition security found the bomb maker within 24 hours. It was a member of something called the Purity Bloc, a group of species who believed that only peaceful, civilized races should be in the coalition. They saw humans as violent barbarians from a savage world, but the arrest didn't help the human cause. If anything, it made things worse. The Purity Bloc claimed the bombing was self-defense against the Deathworlder threat. They broadcast messages across coalition space, showing footage of Day's fight, of Nari's endurance run, of humans doing things that should be impossible. "We need to change the narrative," Yuna said during an emergency meeting. "How?" They asked. "We can't change what we are." "No, but we can change what we do with it." Yuna pulled up star maps and data. "The coalition has disaster zones. Places too dangerous for most species to work. Toxic spills, collapsed buildings, radiation leaks. Things that need people who can survive harsh conditions. You want us to volunteer for suicide missions?" Wu said dryly. "I want us to volunteer for missions that aren't suicide for us, but would be for everyone else." Yuna highlighted several locations. "We show them that being tough isn't a threat. It's an asset." Before they could plan further, an official message arrived. High Arbiter Quellen requested a meeting with the entire human delegation. Not requested, demanded. They gathered in a chamber that seemed to be made of pure light. Quellen stood at the center, along with representatives from dozens of coalition species. The Valkyrie fighter that they had fought was there too, standing with its kind. Humans, Quellen's voice rang out like crystal bells. You have presented us with a problem. The Purity Bloc has issued a formal challenge under ancient coalition law. A trial by ordeal. What does that mean? Yuna asked. It means you must prove your worth through a series of tests. If you fail, humanity will be expelled from coalition space forever. If you succeed, Quellen paused. If you succeed, you will earn your place among the stars. Day looked at his team. 4 other humans against the judgment of an entire galaxy. They'd already survived an assassination attempt just by being human. Now they had to prove that survival wasn't the same as being a threat. We accept, Yuna said. The galaxy had noticed when the human hit the ground and stood up. Now it was going to test just how many times humans could do that. Before they stayed down, they intended to show them the answer was more times than they could imagine. The trial by ordeal was set to begin in 3 days. 3 days for 5 humans to prepare for tests designed by species who wanted them gone. 3 days that felt both too long and not long enough. They spent the first day studying everything the coalition would share about the trials. There wasn't much. The tests were designed to push competitors to their absolute limits. Many species had failed. Some had died. Cheerful reading? Nari asked, looking over his shoulder at the datapad. Just trying to know what we're getting into. We're getting into a fight we can't avoid. Nari sat down beside him. They were in the station's observation deck, watching ships come and go through the massive docking bays. You know they're designing these trials specifically to beat us, right? Yeah, and you know there's no way we can refuse without looking weak? Yeah, Nari was quiet for a moment. My family asked me to come home. They saw the news about the bombing. My mother thinks I'm going to die out here. Are you going home? Are you? Day shook his head. No. If we run now, humanity loses its chance. Maybe forever. That's what I told my mother. Nari smiled slightly. She called me stubborn. She's not wrong. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars. 2 humans, far from home, carrying the weight of an entire planet's future. It should have felt crushing. Instead, it just felt like another mission. Harder than most, higher stakes than any, but still just a mission. The second day brought unexpected help. The Valkyrie fighter from Day's first match arrived at the human quarters. Its name was Citizen Ninth Hive, and it carried a data crystal. I bring information, Ninth Hive said through its translator. About the trials. Yuna regarded the Valkyrie carefully. Why would you help us? Your species is part of the Purity Bloc. My Hive nation is. I am none. Ninth Hive placed the crystal on the table. You defeated me in honorable combat. You helped me stand after. You showed restraint when you could have shown cruelty. This is not the behavior of a monster. The crystal contained detailed information about the 5 trials. Gravity endurance, atmospheric adaptation, radiation resistance, temperature extremes, and combat prowess. Each test designed to push competitors past their breaking point. The Purity Bloc believes humans will fail the atmospheric test, Ninth Hive explained. Most species require specific gas mixtures to survive. They will use poisons designed to kill quickly. Wu studied the data with professional interest. Our livers and kidneys are designed to filter toxins. Earth has plenty of naturally occurring poisons. We evolved to handle them. They do not know this? They know our basic biology, but they don't really understand it. Sue had joined them, bringing more medical data. To them, our organs are oversized and redundant. They don't understand that's our advantage. Knife Hive's compound eyes seem to shine. Then you have a chance. Use what they do not understand. Survive what they think will kill you. Before leaving, the Volcari fighter did something unexpected. It bowed to Day, a formal gesture in its culture. You are a warrior, Ninth Hive said. Not a monster. I will speak this truth to any who will listen. After it left, the human team looked at each other. We've got an alien on our side, Nari said, sounding surprised. One alien against a block of hundreds, Una reminded them. But it's a start. The third day was for training. The coalition provided a practice facility, though Day suspected it was also for observation. Cameras watched their every move as they prepared. Day focused on endurance exercises. Gravity training was familiar from Earth military drills. He'd worn weighted vests that simulated higher gravity during training. His body remembered the strain, the pressure, the way muscles had to work harder. Nari ran. She ran on treadmills set to different gravity levels, in different atmospheric conditions, until sweat soaked through her clothes and her breathing came in gasps. Then she ran more Sung practiced combat forms. Quiet, methodical, perfect technique. He didn't speak while he worked. He didn't need to. His body said everything. Wu prepared medical supplies. He couldn't compete in most of the trials. He was a doctor, not a combat specialist, but he could make sure everyone survived them. Una coordinated. She spoke with coalition officials, filed formal protests about trial conditions, negotiated for what little advantages she could get. Mostly she got nothing, but she kept trying. Dr. Su worked on a different kind of preparation. She compiled every bit of human medical data into a comprehensive report. If the humans died in these trials, she wanted there to be a record. Proof that they had tried, that they had been real, that they had mattered. On the evening before the trials, Una called the team together one last time. I need to be honest with you, she said. I don't know if we can win this. No one spoke. They all knew. But I know we can try. I know we can show them what humans really are. Una looked at each of them in turn. Not monsters. Not Deathworlders. Just people who happen to be tough. And people who protect each other. What if that's not enough? Wu asked quietly. Then we fail knowing we did our best. Una smiled, though it didn't reach her eyes. But I don't think we're going to fail. You know why? Why? Because every human on Earth is descended from survivors. From people who lived through ice ages and droughts and plagues and wars. From people who got knocked down and stood back up. That's what we do. We survive. And then we help others survive too. The trial began at dawn, by station time. The first test was gravity endurance. Competitors were placed in a chamber where gravity gradually increased. The goal was to stay standing as long as possible. 5 species competed alongside the humans. All of them were from high-gravity worlds by coalition standards. Though none as heavy as Earth. The test began at 0.5 standard gravity. Easy. It increased to 0.7. Still easy. At 1 standard gravity, 3 of the alien competitors were struggling. At 1.2, 2 of them collapsed. They felt the pressure. It was like wearing a heavy pack, like running with weights. His muscles strained. His bones felt the load. But he'd trained in 1 standard gravity his entire life. This was hard, but not impossible. At 1.5 gravity, all the alien competitors had fallen. Only the humans remained standing. Day, Nari, and Sung stood in formation, supporting each other when the pressure made balance difficult. 2 standard gravity. Day's vision started to narrow. His heart worked overtime to pump blood against the increased pressure. Every breath was work. Every muscle screamed, "Stay up." He heard Nari gasp beside him. "Stay together." Sung added. At 2.5 gravity, Nari's legs gave out. She hit the ground hard. Day and Sue both reached for her, but the gravity made movement almost impossible. "I'm okay," Nari called out. "Keep going." 3 standard gravity. They had never experienced anything like it. His body felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. His bones creaked under the strain. Blood pooled in his legs. His heart-hammered dot sung collapsed. Not from weakness, but from the simple physics of trying to move in 3 times normal gravity. He fell in a controlled way, protecting his head, rolling to distribute impact. The human hit the ground, rolled once, and didn't stand up. Couldn't stand up. 3 times Earth's gravity was too much. But Day stood, barely. His legs shook. His vision was going dark around the edges. But he stood. "Human Quan Day," came the announcement. "Record achieved. 3.02 standard gravity sustained. New coalition record." The chamber powered down. Gravity returned to normal. Day fell to his knees, gasping. Medical teams rushed in, but he waved them away. Nari and Sue were already getting up, helping each other. The watching aliens were silent. Complete silence. They had witnessed something they couldn't quite believe. Humans, these supposed monsters from a death world, had just set a new record in the trial meant to destroy them. In the observation area, Una allowed herself a small smile. 1 trial down. 4 to go. But in the shadows of the coalition chambers, the purity block was already planning. If gravity wouldn't break the humans, perhaps poison would. Or radiation. Or cold. They had 4 more chances to prove that Deathworlders had no place among civilized species. The humans had 4 more chances to prove them wrong. 9th Hive, watching from its own observation post, felt something its species rarely felt: hope. Perhaps these humans were exactly what the coalition needed. Not monsters to be feared, but allies to be valued. As Day limped out of the chamber with his team, he thought about his nephew's drawing. A simple picture of a spaceship, drawn by a child who believed his uncle was a hero. Day wasn't sure about being a hero, but he was sure about one thing: he wasn't done standing up yet, no matter how many times they tried to knock him down. The atmospheric test came second. The humans were given 6 hours to recover from the gravity trial, then escorted to a different chamber. This one was circular with transparent walls. Outside, thousands of aliens watched. "They're treating this like entertainment," Nari muttered. "Let them watch," Sue said. "We have nothing to hide." The test administrator was a gaseous being that Day could barely see. It existed as a cloud of vapor inside a containment suit. Its voice came through speakers. "The atmospheric trial will expose you to 15 different gas mixtures, each more toxic than the last. You must survive each mixture for 10 minutes before moving to the next. Protective equipment is forbidden." "Understood," Una said. She was competing in this trial despite Wu's protests. "Begin when ready." The first mixture was introduced into the chamber. Day smelled it immediately. Sulfur compounds, similar to volcanic gases on Earth. Unpleasant, but not immediately dangerous. His body recognized it as a threat, and his liver began working to filter it. 10 minutes passed. The humans showed mild discomfort, but no serious symptoms. The alien competitors, however, 2 species that claimed superior respiratory systems, were already struggling. One requested medical intervention at 8 minutes. The second mixture was methane-rich. The third contained ammonia. The fourth had carbon monoxide. Each time, the alien competitors fell further behind. Each time, the humans adapted. Wu monitored vital signs from outside the chamber. "Their kidney function is increasing," he reported to Sue. "Their bodies are actively filtering the toxins." "As expected," Sue said. "Humans evolved alongside countless natural poisons. Plant toxins, animal venoms, bacterial infections. Our organs learned to fight back. By the 8th mixture, all alien competitors had withdrawn. Only the 5 humans remained. The test continued. The 10th mixture made Day's eyes water and his throat burn. He tasted metal. His head pounded. But his body was fighting. He could feel it, his liver processing, his kidneys filtering, his lungs continuing to extract oxygen from the poisoned air. Yuna collapsed at the 12th mixture. She didn't lose consciousness, but her body finally reached its limit. Wu demanded she be removed. She refused. 3 more, she said, her voice rough. I can do 3 more. She did. When the 15th mixture cleared and fresh air filled the chamber, all 5 humans were still conscious. Battered, sick, but conscious. They'd survived poisons designed to kill in minutes. The watching aliens erupted in noise. Some sounded amazed. Others sounded afraid. They couldn't tell which reaction was more dangerous. Thought the radiation trial was third. This one scared Day more than the others. Radiation wasn't something you could fight with muscles or filter with organs. It damaged you at the cellular level, invisible and deadly. The test chamber looked deceptively normal. Clean white walls. Soft lighting. No visible threat. But the radiation detectors on the walls told a different story. You will be exposed to increasing levels of radiation, the administrator explained. This one was a crystalline being, immune to radiation naturally. Most species can tolerate 0.1 millisieverts per hour safely. We will start there and increase by increments. 0.1 was nothing. The natural background radiation on Earth was higher in some places. At 0.5, Day felt nothing. At 1 millisievert, he started to feel warm. His body was working harder, cellular repair mechanisms activating. At 5 millisieverts, the alien competitors began showing symptoms: nausea, dizziness, skin irritation. Human bodies showed stress too, but different stress. Their cells were actively repairing damage as it occurred. Remarkable, Sue whispered, watching the medical readouts. Their DNA repair enzymes are working at maximum efficiency. Is that normal? Asked an alien doctor beside her. For humans? Yes. We evolved under a sun that produces significant radiation. Our bodies learn to fix DNA damage constantly. Every day, on Earth, our cells repair thousands of radiation-induced breaks. The test reached 10 millisieverts. 2 alien competitors collapsed. At 15, the last alien withdrew. At 20, Nari's nose began to bleed. That's enough, Wu called out. Pull them. But Yuna stepped forward, even though she wasn't competing in this trial. How much more can we take? The crystalline administrator consulted its instruments. The theoretical limit for cellular repair in carbon-based life is approximately 30 millisieverts per hour. Beyond that, damage occurs faster than any known species can repair it. Take us to 30, Yuna said. That could cause permanent damage. Take us to 30. We need to know our limits. They reached 30 millisieverts. Day felt like he was burning from the inside. His body screamed warnings. His cells worked frantically to repair themselves. But he stood. They all stood. All 5 humans remained standing at radiation levels that should have killed them. When the test ended and they stumbled out of the chamber, Day vomited. So did Nari and Soon. Yuna sat down hard, her skin pale. But they were alive. Damaged, but alive. And their bodies were already healing. 3 down, Nari said weakly. 2 to go. The temperature trial was 4th. After a day's rest, they entered a chamber that could simulate extreme heat and cold. The trial would test both. How hot could they endure? How cold could they survive? Most coalition species evolved in narrow temperature ranges, the administrator explained. 10 to 30 degrees typically. We will test your limits. The chamber started at comfortable room temperature. Then it began to drop. 10 degrees, 0, -10. The humans started shivering, their body's automatic response to generate heat. -20, -30. At -40, the alien competitors were suffering severe hypothermia. At -50, they were unconscious. The humans remained awake, though barely. Their bodies shivered violently, burning energy to stay warm. Their extremities went numb, but their core temperatures remained stable. How? An alien doctor demanded. How are they still conscious? Humans can reduce blood flow to their extremities to protect their core, Sue explained. It's called peripheral vasoconstriction. They sacrifice their fingers and toes to keep their vital organs warm. That's barbaric. That's survival. At -60 degrees, they pulled everyone out. The humans couldn't walk properly. Their muscles were too cold. But they were alive and aware. Then came the heat test. 40 degrees. 50. The humans began to sweat, their body's cooling system activating. 60 degrees. 70. Sweat poured off them. Their skin turned red. But they endured. At 90 degrees, alien competitors were in severe distress. At 100, they were unconscious. At 110, the humans were still standing. They're sweating, Sue explained to the gathered scientists. It's incredibly efficient. They can lose liters of water per hour through their skin, evaporating heat away from their bodies. But they'll dehydrate. They will. But they'll survive longer than species without this ability. At 120 degrees, Yuna collapsed. Day and Sung caught her, sharing their body heat in a way that seemed counterintuitive but helped distribute the thermal stress. At 130, they finally called for extraction. 4 trials passed. The humans had set new records in each one. They'd survived gravity that would crush most species, poisons that should have killed in minutes, radiation that should have destroyed their DNA, temperatures that should have frozen or cooked them. The galaxy watched. And opinions divided. Some species saw the trials as proof that humans were monsters, creatures too dangerous to be allowed in civilized space. Others saw them as potential saviors, beings who could work in conditions where no one else could survive. The purity bloc grew angrier. Their trials had failed to break the humans. Now only one test remained: combat prowess. And they were determined to make it count. The final trial will be different, High Arbiter Queln announced. You will face 3 champions of the purity bloc in simultaneous combat. This is unusual, but they have invoked their right to test your martial abilities directly. 3 against 5? Yuna asked. 3 against whoever you choose to compete. Coalition rules allow a maximum of 3 competitors per side in combat trials. Day looked at his team. The choice was obvious. Himself, Sung, and Nari. The 3 with combat training and experience. We accept, he said. The combat trial was scheduled for the next day. One day, to prepare for a fight against 3 champions, chosen specifically to defeat humans. That night, Ninth Hive visited again. I have seen the champions you will face, the Valkyrie said. They are strong, experienced, angry. We're pretty angry too, Nari said. That is what I hope to hear. Ninth Hive hesitated. There is something you should know. The Purity Bloc has declared this trial will be to submission or unconsciousness. But some of its members have been heard saying other things. You mean they might try to kill us, they said flatly. Yes, good to know. They meant it. Better to know the real stakes than to be surprised. After Ninth Hive left, the 3 fighters sat together. They didn't talk much. They'd fought together before, back on Earth during military operations. They knew each other's rhythms, strengths, weaknesses. I'm not afraid of dying, Nari said suddenly. Neither am I, Sung added. They thought about his nephew's drawing, about his sister's garden, about Earth spinning in space millions of miles away. "I'm not afraid of dying either," he said. "But I really don't want to. So let's try not to." The arena was different for the final trial. Bigger, more elaborate. The floor was some kind of adaptive material that could change texture and hardness. The ceiling was high enough that the watching crowd seemed distant, almost abstract. They stood with Nari and Sum, waiting for their opponents. The three humans wore simple combat suits, nothing fancy. No weapons beyond their own bodies. That was the rule. The Purity Block champions entered from the opposite side. The first was a Valkyrie, larger than Ninth Hive, covered in battle scars. The second was a species they hadn't seen before, quadrupedal with razor-sharp quills along its spine. The third was almost human-shaped, but covered in stone-like armor that appeared to be part of its skin. "Those are their best," Wu said from the sideline. "The Valkyrie is a war veteran. The quill one is from a predator species. The stone one is nearly indestructible." "Great," Nari muttered. "This'll be fun." High Arbiter Quellen's voice rang out across the arena. "The final trial begins now. Combat continues until one side submits or cannot continue. Lethal force is prohibited by coalition law." They noticed Quellen put emphasis on that last part. "A warning, maybe." To both sides, the bell rang. The Valkyrie came straight for Day, recognizing him from their first fight. Its four-bladed arms were faster than Day remembered. He dodged, blocked, gave ground. The creature was good. Very good. Beside him, Nari faced the quadruped. It was fast, using all four legs to maneuver in ways that made human combat training almost useless. Its quills shot out like projectiles when it spun. Nari rolled, ducked, kept moving. Soon fought the stone armor being. He struck it 3 times, hard hits that should have hurt. They didn't. His fists hit stone and stone didn't feel pain. The fight was brutal and one-sided. The champions had been chosen specifically to counter human advantages. Toughness didn't matter against stone. Speed didn't matter against four-legged pursuit. Endurance didn't help when you were being cut to pieces. They took a blade across his shoulder. It hurt. Blood flowed. He kept fighting. The Valkyrie struck again, catching his ribs. The same ribs it had hit in their first fight. This time they cracked. The human hit the ground, rolled once, and stood up. The Valkyrie paused. "Why you stand? You're injured." "Yeah," they gasped. "But I'm not done yet." They fought on. Minutes passed. Blood mixed with sweat on the arena floor. Nari took hits from the quills, her suit shredded, skin bleeding from a dozen cuts. Sung's hands were bruised and swollen from hitting stone. The watching crowds were silent. This wasn't entertainment anymore. This was something else. Something harder to watch. 10 minutes in, Nari fell. The quadruped stood over her, quills raised for a final strike. They saw it happen in slow motion. Saw the alien's muscles tense. Saw the intent to do more than just win. He moved without thinking. Crossed the arena in a sprint, crashed into the quadruped, took it down. The creature's quills pierced his side as they fell together. Pain exploded through his torso. The human hit the ground, did not roll, could barely move, but he protected Nari. She scrambled away, bleeding but alive. "Day." Sung's voice cut through the pain. Day couldn't answer. The quills had punctured deep. Maybe hit something vital. He could taste blood in his mouth. Not a good sign. Medical alarms blared. Wu was trying to get into the arena, but the barriers held. The trial wasn't over until someone submitted. Yuna watched from the observation area, her hands gripping the railing. She could stop this. Call submission. Save Day's life. But if she did, humanity would lose everything. Day pushed himself up on one elbow. Then his hands. Then his knees. The galaxy needed to see this. Needed to understand what humans were. The human hit the ground, rolled onto his side, pushed up, and stood. He stood with quills still embedded in his flesh. Stood with broken ribs and torn muscles. Stood because standing was what humans did. The arena erupted. Not in cheers, but in something that sounded like awe or terror. They couldn't tell which dot the quadruped backed away from him, quills rattling. "What are you?" "Tired," they said, blood on his lips. Really, really tired. He took a step toward the creature. It backed up more. They took another step. The quadruped turned and ran. One champion down. The Volcari and the stone being had stopped fighting Nari and Sung. They stared at Day, at this human who should be down, who should be screaming, who should be anything except standing. "Submit," they said to them. "Please, I don't want to hurt anyone." The Volcari's blade arms lowered slowly. "You are already hurt. How are you standing?" "Because my teammates need me." They looked at Nari, at Sung, at the people who'd become his family in this strange place. "Because quitting isn't what we do." The stone being spoke for the first time, its voice like rocks grinding. "You are a Deathworlder. You survive where nothing should survive." "We're human," they corrected. "We survive, and then we help others survive too. That's the difference." He swayed on his feet, losing blood, losing consciousness, but still standing. Always standing. The Valkyrie made a sound like clicking stones. "I submit. This fight is yours." The stone being hesitated longer. Finally, it too lowered its arms. "Submit." The Deathworlder has proven his point. Medical teams flooded the arena. Wu reached Day first, already working to stop the bleeding. "You stupid, brave idiot," he muttered, while his hands moved with practiced skill. "Did we win?" Day asked. "Yeah, you won. Good." Day's legs finally gave out. The human hit the ground, did not roll, and did not stand back up, but he was smiling. Day woke up 2 days later in the medical bay. Every part of his body hurt. That was good. It meant he was alive. Dead people didn't hurt. Yuna sat beside his bed. "Welcome back. Did I miss anything?" "Just a complete shift in coalition politics." She smiled. The purity block disbanded. Turns out watching a human take quills to the chest and still stand up changed some minds about whether we're civilized or not. And the others? Nari's fine. Cuts and bruises. Soon broke 3 knuckles punching stone. He's proud of it. Yuna's smile faded slightly. "You were the worst. The quills hit your liver and 1 lung. Any other species would have died instantly. But I'm human." "But you're human?" Day looked around the medical bay. It was full of alien doctors and scientists, all studying human patients with renewed interest. Not as threats now, but as colleagues. Potential friends. Dr. Su appeared with data pads and a wide grin. "You're famous. Your fight is being broadcast across coalition space. Do you know what they're calling you?" "I'm afraid to ask." "The human who would not fall." She laughed. Bit dramatic, but accurate. Over the next week, everything changed. High Arbiter Quellen offered humanity a new role in the coalition, emergency response force. Humans would work in disaster zones, toxic environments, radiation leaks, anywhere other species couldn't safely go. "We survive where others can't," Yuna explained today. "Now we make that useful instead of frightening." Requests came in immediately. A mining accident on a high-gravity world. A chemical spill in an industrial sector. A ship stranded in a radiation field. Humans could handle all of it. Ninth Hive visited Day in medical. The Valkyrie brought a gift, a crystalline sculpture of 2 warriors standing together. "This represents honor in my culture," Ninth Hive explained. "You have shown me that strength without compassion is not strength at all." It is merely violence. Thank you, they said. And thank you for the information about the trials. We couldn't have won without your help. We are allies now. Allies help each other. Ninth Hive's compound eyes gleamed. I have requested transfer to the Human Emergency Response Force. If you will have me, we'd be honored. More aliens volunteered. Species who saw that working alongside humans meant access to places and situations they couldn't handle alone. The Emergency Response Force grew from 5 humans to a multi-species team within a month. Dae's family sent messages. His sister's garden was doing well. His nephew had drawn a new picture, this time of his uncle standing in an arena, surrounded by stars. The child understood, in his simple way, that something important had happened. 3 months after the trials, Dae stood on a transport ship heading to his first official rescue mission. A colony ship had crashed on a high-gravity world. Most species couldn't even walk there, let alone perform a rescue. Nari, Sung, Wu, and Yuna were with him. So was Ninth Hive and a dozen other alien specialists. The Emergency Response Force, ready to save lives. Nervous? Nari asked. Always, they admitted. But that's okay. Nervous means I'm paying attention. The ship dropped them on the planet's surface. The gravity was 1.3 standard. Heavy, but manageable. The crashed colony ship was visible in the distance, smoke rising from its hull. They moved out as a team. Humans carrying equipment too heavy for the aliens. Aliens providing technical expertise humans lacked. Working together. Surviving together. Inside the wreckage, they found survivors. Families huddled in emergency shelters, afraid and injured but alive. The rescue took hours. Heavy lifting, careful navigation through unstable corridors, medical treatment in harsh conditions. They carried a child out of the wreck, an alien child, small and fragile in his arms. The child's parent waited outside, desperate with worry. When they handed the child over, the parent looked at him with something that wasn't fear anymore. It was gratitude. Thank you, human, the parent said through a translator. Thank you for